is just a word, so I've been told. Loneliness becomes a word, it's very cold. Hey, there's a song by Chicago called Loneliness is Just a Word. And I've been listening to them. Chicago 3, love that album. And I thought that would be an interesting, powerful video to make today. Loneliness. This hits home for me. I've, maybe you're like me. You were the weird kid in the family. You were the oddball in the group. I made jokes I was the jokey kid, in high school and grade school. I was the thoughtful, sensitive artist as I grew older into, college and in real life. And I dealt with some loneliness. I've dealt with some loneliness and some isolation and solitude. I think it's important to define the two because I use solitude work in my own coaching. Solitude is something I think that we must find, especially now more than ever in our hyper-connected, noisy world. In this wasteland of screens, we need to find ourselves again. And so I always prescribe for myself and others an hour a week where we can just hit the timer, put away our screens, sit with ourselves, do some journaling, do some creative free play, go for a walk in nature, something. We need to get back to sitting with ourselves, being quiet, and listening for what is there. We are too much parroting and regurgitating and remixing all of these phrases and terms and mottos and how to live, and it gets clogged with life hacks and methods and practices that we just are a robot. We need to go back to who we are. And it's there. It really is there. If we listen. Loneliness is different. Loneliness is what we feel when we feel like the world doesn't get us. We can be lonely in a crowd, right? We can be lonely in a marriage. We can be lonely in a friendship. We can be lonely in a workplace. And for me, this hit the hardest. And I think this is one of the reasons why I think it hit the hardest is for us men, we were conditioned to bottle it in, to not talk about, we would, anything we could to not be lonely, right? Find a mate, find a friend, and that's fine. And I realized how I'm going to be talking about this today, and it's all kind of clicking as I go. I'm kind of talking out loud about this, but we are conditioned to not feel heavy, deep emotions, right? Just play the game, just go on about your business, push it down, QB yells hike, the play is done, grunt, bear with it, don't feel the pain, don't feel the struggle. And this is just from a lifetime of doing this. So I think that being alone and feeling alone are two different things. I feel like, right? Just in my gut. Being alone is more towards aloneness and solitude, right? It's just being by yourself. You're alone at the workbench working on something. You're alone with your artwork, and I think as creatives, we know how to be alone. We know solitude. Feeling alone, feeling lonely, loneliness, which I think is an epidemic, right? The loneliness epidemic. That's what I'm talking about today. And I think that it's the hardest thing to do, to sit with it. And that's one of the lessons that I learned in my midlife. And even now, just in the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling a little bit lonely. And I see what pops up. I see the distractions that kind of come up, whether it's eating, drinking, just other distracting things online. That we just that we find ourselves in. And it's really hard for me, and I have to remind myself over and over of sitting with that loneliness. Or it could be something else. Looking at those distractions, right? I want to reach for another hamburger. I want to buy something online. I want to buy this, I want to buy that. There's this grabbing sensation of like more, please, please, please. Sitting with that and just, okay, what does this have to tell me? What does this have to teach me? If you're feeling lonely, I get it. There's a lot to feel lonely about, I think, in this world. You're not connecting with the people that you should be connecting with. And from all my weird heroes out there, you feel it the most, right? My INFJs, my, sensitive strivers, or my dismissive, avoidant attachment style people out there. There's a lot of shame and guilt that comes with what's wrong with me. And here's one of the lessons that I learned. You have nothing to be ashamed about. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Nothing. That is what I learned. There was a difference in me. There were differences in me. I was special in some way, right? I think we all are. We all run into this. And it's when we get to our midlife that we look back and compare ourselves to the normies, to compare ourselves to anybody, to compare ourselves to other weird heroes out there. Like, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. And I say that, but I do it too. I think it's very lonely when we look at our lives and where we're at and go, I should be somewhere else. I should be them, or I should be them, or I should be that guy over there. I know I have to be that guy. And instead of going, well, I was this guy. I'm going to be talking more about loneliness in all of its forms, but I just wanted to say that it could be lonely out there, especially when you're working on yourself. It's not popular to work on yourself. We're not conditioned. We're not taught to work on ourselves. We're taught to work on things or to be people, to work on roles. We're taught that to attract a woman, we have to be fit, we have to be strong, we have to be, presentable. We can't be weird or have collections of things or play video, whatever that might be, right? And even within those little sects, let's say that this little sect of people actually like to play video games and dress a little more casual and are a little more weird. Even within that, there's a bit of a hierarchy, right? We can fall into that. So it can be lonely being different. It could be lonely comparing yourself to other people. It could be lonely to be yourself. And it could be lonely to work on yourself. Yeah, there's lots to be lonely about. But what I found to help me, it may not help you, but what I found to help me was a couple things. Reminding yourself you're not lonely, that you just feel lonely, because sometimes our bodies can feel lonely and not actually be lonely. We have friends, we have family, we have others out there. We can reach out to them. And even though it's not our strength to reach out to people we need help, we can work on that. But also, if you're working on yourself, and I think a lot of my viewers are, a lot of my tribe is working on themselves, this is called the lonely chapter. Chris Williamson talks about it in his interview with Joe Rogan and in his own podcast. I forgot exactly where it originated from. Help me out in the comments. But the lonely chapter is real. When you work on yourself and other people are off drinking and watching the game, that can be lonely. And then you'll meet people that are like working with you, right? Okay, I'm working on myself, they're working on themselves, but then eventually you kind of get better and then you drift apart again. There's lots of drifting apart and drifting close together in this world, in this life, as we get older. And I just want to finish with this. If you're feeling lonely, I get you. I hear you. I felt lonely many times in my life. I felt like the outcast. I felt like the weirdo. And it's only in an unhealthy, screwed up world that the healthy people feel this way. Now, right then, I realize I'm singling myself out as a healthy person in an unhealthy world. We all have we're all marbled. We're all healthy and unhealthy at the same time. We're not roles. We're not people. We're skillful and unskillful, I guess. I don't know. This is a really difficult thing for me to talk about because I feel like I don't really have the answers for you. And I guess I'm not trying to give you any answers. I feel your pain. I feel your loneliness, and I want to help. I think that's why I'm kind of struggling with some sort of lesson here. The lesson is we're all lonely and we're going to die. No. The lesson is that we're going to feel lonely, and we shouldn't push those feelings away. We should sit with those feelings as hurtful and as horrible as they feel. And that's why it's great to get professional help. And this video is run on a little bit long. I apologize about that. But yeah, I think this is something that I think, you know what, just try your best every single day, every single minute. And if you feel lonely, reach out. Reach down, comment below if you're feeling a little bit lonely. I hear you. I hear you. It can be lonely sometimes. That solitude can swallow you up sometimes. But know this, you're not alone. You may feel lonely, but you're not alone. I'm here. I'm sure there's someone else in your life that is in your life. And if you reach out to them and tell them you're lonely, it's as easy and as difficult as that. I want to thank you for hanging out with me for this. Comment below if you're feeling a bit lonely, what you do when you're feeling lonely. And journal about it. Journal about how you're feeling lonely and what to feel lonely on. And I want you to be safe and be well. And take care. Have a great day.